From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In this recording, we go over that recon as a deal will be happening, but has not yet happened. What happened? The great news is that more items are being added to the recon, and Ron Klain and Pramila are blocking the roads and bridges vote. The price tag could go higher and more programs being added in there. It's all breaking on Mornings right today. Then student loan debt forgiveness, more debt could be forgiven across the board, and then the big COLA raise across that as well. Democrats saw the president send off to Rome this week, but that send off to Rome was just to deliver a message about climate and also to deliver a message to world leaders that the recon was done. It was not done. And so when the president returns back to the U.S. soils in the next few days, it's back to business. Because guess what? Senators and House members on this big Halloween are saying, we have a big gap. We have a lot of work. There's a lot that needs to be added to the recon. This is our money. This is our provisions. This is what you want to hear. The only thing missing, of course, is still the bacon. On top of that, the toast is toasting. The butter is buttering. I'm here. You're here. It's a beautiful Halloween, and this is Mornings LA. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day and hope the weather is good where you are. It cooled down here in Southern California, but a recon will be happening. Hasn't happened yet. The latest breaking details is no less than a dozen legislators say they're adding stuff to the recon. This is after breaking news reveals that Ron Klain and Pramila worked behind the scenes to block the vote. It was the White House themselves that were blocking the vote. Whoa, on the roads and bridges, the latest details on this. The price is right. The price could go higher on that recon 1.75. Yes, that's where we are now. But more items could be added in there. Which items? I have those details in this recording. Then student loan debt forgiveness, that could be added as well by executive order. The latest details on the offer from the president and why the Democrats should take it. And then your COLA raise, or COLA benefits are going up. Then this stimulus is right behind it. The latest details as the president leaves Rome and now heads to Glasgow. The details of why the Rome meeting was important for the recon and also important for the messaging in the recon, but not for the substance. It's all breaking. It's all new. It's all right here. And this is Mornings LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers is a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Coming up next is noontime. Then we got shows at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 5 o'clock. The news cycle is very robust this weekend. Who would have known? Thank you for watching yesterday in big numbers, but don't forget to watch today. I know a lot of people said they were just at church. Come back and pray for the recon because items are being added to the recon across the board. Let's go over the incredible details starting right now. 3 weeks ago, a House subcommittee passed a reconciliation budget bill. The price tag, $3.5 trillion. The provisions divided among 3 clusters of checks. That recon is for people who are single, married, kids, no kids, people on disabilities, people not on disabilities, people employed, people unemployed. And it'll pay you about $15,000 of money across this recon. As soon as it becomes law, I'm going to show you how to get these incredible sums of money. And this is where this recon is right now. We're going to go over each of these 3 clusters of checks that pay you about $15,000. We're going to go over the status. This is changing even today. I have new data as I look at some of the eligibility numbers. Some of them make no sense. Is it that is what the situation is, or is it because broadcast media butchered the numbers? It's the second one. I have the latest details and start right now with the first cluster. Let's go over the details. First cluster, great news, as every provision survived. Whoa, that is huge. Hazard pay survived. Earned income tax credit for 1 more year. $4,000 for elder care survived. $4,000 for young children's money survived. Then the Pell's grant made tax-free and adding an additional $550 a student. The direct money to the university, to the student as well with those grants. The CTC surviving for one more year for $3,600 or $3,000 per child. Then the money to repair the home survived. This is huge. This woke you up if the coffee hasn't yet. Or that strange costume the host is wearing. What is that thing? Yeah, the money for the repairs of the home. Low-income community, totally free repairs. They got that in there. And then they got money in there for the bikes, cars, and trucks. This is not new money. This is an old program pre-Trump. They're extending it for another 10 years. 50% for the purchase price of a new electric vehicle. A new electric bike, $7,500 for a new electric vehicle. Personal use, a little bit more if it's for business use. There we go. That's the first cluster. Everything in that was passed survived and is still in the recon. Let's go to the first add-on. We got 3 add-ons to go over, and the first add-on is the $25,000 for the purchase of your first home proposed by Maxine Waters. I don't think this provision survived as written, but the other money for the home did survive. That is the home repairs, the mortgage, the utilities, and the rent aid. The recon third from January had $47 billion for home health, for the home items like rent and utilities. This one will have nearly $175 billion. Big, great details, which brings us to the second cluster checks. And there you go, more money for the home repairs. Let's go over the details of this second cluster and the status of the items. Paid family leave out, medical leave out, childcare programs in there, household tax credits in there, then pre-kindergarten in there, tuition-free community college out, then money to weatherize your home. Definitely need to weatherize your home, especially before tonight, before Halloween. Quickly weatherize your home right today, because you know Kristen Sinema is going to be knocking on your door, and you're going to say trick or treat. She's going to say, I don't know, I haven't made up a decision. Come back to me in 2 months from now. Joe Manchin will come knocking on your door. You're going to say trick or treat. He's going to say, neither. Call. Clean energy. Call. Would you want some candy? Call. It's Joe Manchin. And then, all the dollar bills are going to be dropping out of the back of his pocket from that call. There you go. Now, what's important for you to understand, if you're new to this channel, is that when I say something in or out, it's at the time of this recording. Because the situation is very fluid. Even on the weekend, you have a lot of breaking news in this recording. Stay with me. Stay to the very end. We have a lot of breaking news. It's a very robust weekend of reporting news. And guess what? If I say something's in, it's in at the moment, still could go out. If I say it's out, it could still go back in. Let's go to the second add-on, and they got it in there as well. This is huge. This is a presidential promise running for the highest land office in the land, and then the Bob Casey promise, and this is $250 billion for home health care. Seniors and people on disability, free home health care. Not at $250 billion, but a little bit less. It's huge. So if you're a senior or person on disability, you could not afford a home health care provider. Now it will be provided for you in this recon. Let's go to the third add-on of checks. And this is where a big battleground ensues, and you're going to hear something new on Mornings LA you have never heard before on Mornings LA right now about this third cluster. What are the provisions of the third cluster I never mentioned because it doesn't concern you? Now it does, because it's coming out likely. Free school meals for all, checks, survived. Cheaper prescription medication, out. Immigration reform. Yes, this is new on Mornings LA. It's always been in the third cluster. I've never said on camera because it doesn't concern you, but it's coming out and the money could be reallocated to you. Oh boy. It's likely it's coming out. I'll have details about that in a second for you. Farmers, money out. Then the free internet. We don't know. The clean energy, out. The workers' money, out. And then the Medicare expansion. Very confusing. Let me go on air to explain this one to you. When we talk about the Medicare expansion, several provisions about this are at hand. One, they wanted to broaden the Medicare expansion across all the 50 states. Initially, they couldn't do it because Joe Manchin had a good point. It was going to be in every 50 states for all U.S. citizens, but the Republican states were going to get it for free because they're going to not pay for it. So he said, I need a workaround. They got it from Raphael Warnock, Georgia, and Senator Claiborne for the Carolinas. They got a workaround so Republican states can't get it for free. They have to pay for it. Then the other one is the lower the eligibility age for Medicare. Currently 65. Bob Casey wanted 60. Bernie wanted 55. I don't know the status of it. I think it's not in there. Dental, vision, hearing. This is a big battleground. I have a lot about this later in this video. Stay with me. Breaking news on this one as well. Well, the hearing got in there. Vision out. Dental out. What's going on? I have more about this coming up in a second. Let's go to the third add-on. And the third add-on, you have a lot of breaking news and brand new stuff about this MSC right today in this recording. The MSC, a lot of details, MSC standing for Multiple Stimulus Check IRS. And the first new detail is this immigration reform provision. In that third cluster, they put in there in the subcommittee of the House 3 weeks ago, immigration reform money passed. Then this week, survived the negotiations, still in there. Guess what? You're learning for the first time on Mornings LA that Chuck Schumer is putting this back to the Senate parliamentarian next week. Again, she's looked at it before the recon, but not with this provision in there. And many insiders believe the provision will not survive the Senate parliamentarian. Huge for you if it doesn't survive, because then that money can be reallocated over to you. Next, second breaking news that's great this morning about the MSC is that you're going to see in the second half of this video a big battleground about voting, how it goes, where it goes, who goes first. And you have Nancy, Jim Claiborne, and also Steny Hoyer very upset about the situation. Nowhere in the equation is Chuck Schumer, who's a lot more progressive. This is huge for you. You're also going to see that everyone is saying the senators are adding stuff in there. What's important to understand is that when we're looking at advocacy and we're looking at MSC, the next few days is not making changes to the recon by Votorama. We're before that. We're not at that step. We're earlier than that, where senators are making changes to the recon right now during negotiations. Huge. So you got an extra step to make changes to the recon to add this in there. And we had Donnie, who reached out to Chuck Schumer's office last week. His office saying, yes, still putting it in there. This is after Donnie's wife reached out the week before, said yes. Debbie Applegate the week before as well, and another viewer across the board. Let's go to that incredible statement of advocacy, which is important. It's a weekend, but have you made those voicemail calls to those legislators, those senators, Coons, Casey, Warren, Schumer, Sanders, and Donnie also got confirmation from Liz Warren's office as well. Make sure you make the advocacy. We have a message from the top senator's chief of staff in D.C., and the message says, we now have in total between congressional senators' offices received more contacts of advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the number of signatures of the American petition. Everyone is amazed by the outpouring of touching stories. Now we have a better understanding of what Americans are going through this pandemic. They have heartbreaking stories, and they have the voice of the people in ULA, as you have become too loud to be ignored. Very, very kind. I mean, they're saying right now, your mask is making you too, this outfit you're wearing is making you too loud to be ignored. Please continue your encouragement, continue your advocacy as the professional voice of the people. You have become LA, and continue to push until this becomes law. Very important, very, very kind. You need to advocate, because guess what? The president may have had a send-off on Thursday that looked like the recon is done. This was not for you, not for the Democrats, not for the negotiators. It was for Europe. I'll explain to you why in the second half of this video. The nuance is that the negotiations are continuing this weekend, with Pramila saying her phone is off the hook ringing with provisions about negotiations, because a deal is still happening, but the deal did not yet happen at all. Then LA told you so, block the vote. But today we now learn that Ron Klain, the chief of staff of the president, and the president himself, not calling the vote on the roads and bridges. Oh, Nancy's going to be upset. I have the latest details on this in the second half of this video. The price is right, 1.75, but the recon could go higher. Then programs in, programs out. More programs are being added across the board. Student loan debt forgiveness, that money is being added if the Democrats take it, $10,000. And COLA, your fifth stimulus benefits could be coming around the corner, which would give you a second and third lift after the COLA raise. I have all those incredible details and more as we go into the second half of this video. Stay with me. We have a big Mornings LA still unfolding. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook,
Twitter and Instagram individuals, reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now on Mornings LA as the president leaves Rome and heads to Glasgow. Why do we think that a deal happened Thursday? I have the latest details while Rome was part of this messaging. Very, very fascinating developing details. Then, LA told you so. The roads and bridges was going to be blocked, but who blocked it? The president's chief of staff. Whoa, this is huge. You're hearing this for the first time on Mornings LA. The price is right, 1.75. We thought the recon is at, but the recon could go bigger. Where is it going? I have the latest details on the programs in and the programs out. Get ready. And I found new eligibility questions across the board. Student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven. This is huge as we start a big morning live in Santa Monica right now. More student loan debt could be forgiven. Who is it? Then this stimulus is right behind fourth stimulus. And guess what? This is the big raise of your COLA first, but this stimulus could be right behind that as well. We got those in details and more, and we got a big recording, and we're just getting started, and this is LA. Happy Halloween, and subscribe. 400,000 subscribers to YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Coming up next is New Time, and then we got 1 o'clock afternoons LA, 3 o'clock afternoons LA, a big show, and evenings LA, a huge show. The news cycle is changing very dramatically. I think you may think that the weekend is upon us. They're not doing a lot of things because of Halloween. Untrue. Look at what has happened in the last few hours since Friday. It's just overwhelming. So like, subscribe, and consider becoming a member. Let's go into what happened with this recon and why things are changing so dramatically. We now go into a new week with no less than a dozen legislators on the House and the Senate side, both saying that the recon needs a lot of other stuff in there. First, I'm going to go over their messages. Then I'll explain to you why they're adding stuff in there still. Then I'm going to explain to you how they add the stuff in there. And then I'll explain to you why we were told that perhaps it was done last Thursday when it wasn't done. We start the day with top senators and House members all saying that negotiations are continuing today on the weekend and will continue next week. Ron Wyden, Democrat, Senator, Oregon, says the deal, meaning the recon deal, is not done until the Senate acts, meaning until the Senate votes. But he makes it even clearer. He says there's a significant amount to still do. Whoa. So that is not like a little a little tweaking or a little modifications here or there. He says a significant amount of work to still do. Senator Chris Coons says, of course, there's going to be dozens of proposals. Pramila says, senators are actually texting me to say they still want to negotiate. If the senators are able to come to a decision that's better than the 50 votes, we welcome it, and they should do that work. And we have confirmation of that they are doing that work. And that is why Pramila says her phone is ringing off the hook this weekend. AOC says the negotiations are continuing. House Democrats really haven't heard any sort of commitment from the Senate that's actually going to be able to pass. So there's an openness and willingness to continue to negotiate on what exactly this looks like, but we need a little bit more than an IOU. Debbie Stabile now, who's from Michigan. So we have all the states represented. We're going from Delaware to Washington with Pramila to New York with AOC. Now we're going to Michigan. It's possible that more changes could be made on the Senate or the House side. She's a senator. Chuck Schumer. Whoa. So this is a big one. You heard me say early in this video that the Senate parliamentarian receives the recon next week to look at it again because the provision about immigration reform, if that provision goes out, then the money can be reallocated, and they're going to reallocate the money. Then that requires some more negotiations as well. And then Chris Murphy says, my impression is stuff is still going to change. That's this weekend. Now, we went into Friday, late Friday, with Bernie saying the same thing. Senator Bernie Sanders saying there's, quote, big gaps in the recon. This is not small little stuff. He's saying big gaps. He says it's the best bill since the 1960s, but it has major gaps. Americans are sick and tired of being paid for higher education. There's no language dealing with prescription medication. I'm glad it's covering some things, but more things need to be done. Before a vote happens in the House, there needs to be explicit legislation. And members of the House will have to have assurances that the two bills remain linked. We don't want the infrastructure called for a vote in the House until we have the Senate vote on the recon with 50 votes. Okay, so now let me explain to you what's going on with this, because this is breaking news on mornings. It's a little complicated, but I'm going to slow it down for you. Two bills, or two bodies of legislation, recon and roads and bridges. You know that recon went through the procedural step, but we're on the substantive recon at the moment. It has not passed the House. It has not passed the Senate. Roads and Bridges has passed the Senate. It's now in the House. If you're going to call the vote on the Roads and Bridges today, the Roads and Bridges in the House could become a law instantly if it was voted upon. So it only has one step remaining. The recon has two big steps to get it to law, at least. So what is Bernie saying? What are Democrats saying? Do not call a vote on the House side for the Roads and Bridges until you first call a vote on the recon in the Senate side. Why is this huge? Because no one cares whether the House votes on the recon, because it will pass the recon. The issue is locking down the senators, all 50 of them, on the Senate side for the recon. Now, you got that pretty easy. Let's go to the next part that's breaking news. Is that in the last 3 days, we've seen two groups, Nancy, Steny Hoyer, Jim Claiborne, one group, and the other group, everyone else. Now, Chuck Schumer. It's huge. It's great. Why is this great? We were concerned that Chuck Schumer was part of this group that really wanted to push the roads and bridges to a quick vote. Guess who does not? The president. Yes. You may have seen the videos. You may have seen the pictures of Nancy Pelosi and the President of the United States walking the halls of Congress, shoulder to shoulder, holding hands on Thursday. What was she trying to do? The president was going to meet with the House and Senate Democrats, and Nancy was bringing him to them. She was hoping he was going to say, I want you to vote in favor of the roads and bridges today, Thursday. That's why she was bringing him. There's no other purpose to bring him but that. Remember I told you there was a quote on Tuesday last week where Pramila said, don't underestimate the progressives? We now know today what she was referring to. Behind the scenes, Pramila was doing a big surprise. The surprise was she knew that, and you knew, and I had reported it, that Nancy was going to try to call the vote on the roads and bridges, was going to try to use the president to say call the vote on the roads and bridges, was trying to do that first, which would be in big trouble for the recon. So what did Pramila do? Went behind Pelosi. Pelosi had two meetings with Pramila. Both of them fell apart, where Pramila said, don't call the roads and bridges. Nancy said, I will. So you know who Pramila went to? The top person she could go to. The president himself. Pramila got Ron Klain, who is the president's chief of staff, in her corner. And it didn't start just this week. We now learn that Ron Klain doesn't get along with the moderate Democrats. He doesn't even talk to them. He talks to the progressives morning, noon, and night, especially Pramila. And she said, Ron, don't have the president say, call the vote on the roads and bridges. Don't have the president call the vote, say anything about voting on the roads and bridges Thursday. He agreed to it. So when the president went into those meetings with the Democrats on Thursday, you never heard come from his mouth the word vote on the roads and bridges. Pelosi, Claiborne, and Steny Hoyer, furious. We now learned those details. He went to the meetings and he said, they're two good bills. I like them. Take care of them. We need these bills. Pelosi stood there next to the president saying, we're going to vote on the roads and bridges. Pramila, right after the meeting, said, the president did not ask for a vote on the roads and bridges. Speaker Pelosi did, but he did not. To make it even more obvious, we now know that before the president got on the plane to fly to Rome later that night, Pelosi had a meeting with Steny Hoyer and with Jim Claiborne, and the three of them were furious that the president did not ask for the roads and bridges to be called for a vote. Steny Hoyer reportedly said in the meeting, to a source close to the meeting, that Steny Hoyer says it all boils down to the fact that there wasn't an ask, meaning there was not a request from the president for that roads and bridges vote. This is huge. Now, so let's recap. One, the president is not putting the roads and bridges for a vote anytime before the recon. Number two, we now have the progressives saying the vote on the recon has to go to the Senate, more important than anywhere else. And then we can call the vote on the roads and bridges in the House. There you go. Price tag 1.75. We were told it was 1.75 on Thursday. But guess what? It could go higher. It can go higher. Why was that number sort of loosey-goosey? Because it's a very fluid situation, and the negotiation's still underway this weekend. Programs in, programs out. Let's go over the details. Early in this video, I said to you that if I say in, I mean that the program's in at the moment. If I say out, I mean the program's out at the moment. The situation is very fluid. Here's some other details you're seeing for the first time on Mornings LALATE, which is right now. We do not know how provisions are going out. We do not know how provisions are going in. We also know that the president, the press secretary, Janet Yellen, Chris Coons are repeatedly misquoting the provisions of the recon, saying they're longer, saying the durations are stranger. Today in this recording, you're going to see me pick up one or two or three provisions reported in broadcast media, the number one, number two broadcast channels. And they have strange numbers. I don't know if that's the number where it is. I think they got the numbers wrong. So I'm going to show you, and I think you're going to agree with me, these numbers don't make sense. All right, here we go over the provisions across the board. Let's go over where they are right now, and it's delicious. Pre-kindergarten, free for 1 year. 3 to 4 year olds, 1 year of free pre-kindergarten, and this would be for 6 million children. Then childcare for 1 year. The child tax credit for one more year, $3,600 to $3,000. Now, this is where stuff gets really dicey. The child tax credit, the CTC is currently $60,000. That's low income. It's supposed to be for low income. My note showed that they were trying to get it to $110,000 for a married couple. Well, what is broadcast reporting? $150,000. You can still get it. Wait a second. Do I think that's accurate? I don't think that's accurate. It's for low income. So I don't think they got the CTC to people who make $150,000. If they did, it makes no sense. Because if you're making $150,000, you can afford $3,000 for your child. It doesn't make sense. I don't think that's what it is. The earned income tax credit, that is for my essential workers, 1 more year. Home health care, free if you are on Medicaid for seniors and people on disabilities. Then hearing, free if you are on Medicare. Then we got provisions in there for the home repairs, $150 billion of them to expand affordable housing, construction, rehab, and home improvements. Earned income, the Pell Grant, adding $550 per student. Then free school meals for those students. It's going to be free school meals if your child is in school during the school year. And when they're not in school, then they'll get $65 per month. There you go. All right, now comes the strange equations. The strange equation starts with the prescription medication, the dental, the vision, and the hearing. Bernie Sanders on Friday said this ain't going to last because this is not a finished bill. What happened with Bernie? He was stopped in the hall of Congress on Friday, and he says we need more negotiations. Pelosi said she needs to add in there the paid leave. And then Gothenheimer says he needs to add in there the SALT. What did Bernie say on Friday? Bernie said on Friday, it's the best bill since the 1960s, but has major gaps. There you go. Second time someone's saying this, major gaps. American people are sick and tired of paying for higher medication, prescription medication. There's no language dealing with it in there. I'm glad to see the expansion to cover hearing aid, but Americans need to have dental and eyeglasses. When asked, are you going to support it? He says, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to do my best to make a good bill better. Are you going to add provisions to it? Absolutely. It's good that they have hearing aid in there, but they need other things like Medicare and paid leave. We need dental, vision, and hearing. And it's inconceivable that we don't have it in there. Now, here is where the situation becomes baffling. On Wednesday, we woke up Wednesday morning with cheaper prescription medication from Medicare Plan B in there. Medicare Plan B is people on diabetes, insulin, very expensive medication in there, cheaper prescription medication. But what about the other parts of Medicare? Not in there. Who wanted it broader? Bernie and the president and Nancy. So, what did the president do? The president had negotiations with Bernie Wednesday night, and Bernie emerged from the negotiation saying, inconceivable, meaning that he heard something he did not like, but he didn't explain to us. The president also had negotiations with Kristen Sinema Wednesday. And what happened? The president reached out to Kristen Sinema to get the broadening of the prescription medication in there. Guess what? She agreed. First time in many, many months, Kristen Sinema, who has big pharma in her pocket, got that provision expanded. Wow. Wonderful big win for the president. That's Wednesday night. Going from Medicare Plan B in there to now expanding it due to an agreement with Kristen Sinema. We wake up Thursday morning, what happens? Poof, gone. Like a time warp. All medication, gone. Even the Medicare Plan B, gone. What happened? No one knows. We had something in there, it's gone. The expansion, gone. Now we're left with zero for medication. What happened? It's unclear. Kristen Sinema wanted it. President wanted it. Bernie wanted it. Nancy wanted it. Joe Biden wanted it. Who took it out? Joe Manchin wanted it. Who took it out? We don't know. No one's asking across the press who took out these provisions, when they took them out, why they took them out. You're going to hear in paid leave. I tell you, Joe Manchin took it out. We know that. But here we don't know what happened. The next body of legislation. Very, very peculiar. But let me tell you Bernie's comment before that was taken out. He said being ripped off by pharmaceutical companies is the number one priority for Americans right on their mind. They're paying 10% more for medication than other countries, and Big Pharma has 15 lobbyists in Congress right now to make a formula. Number two, we're the wealthiest country, and yet people have no money for teeth in their mouth. They cannot see, they cannot hear. Any recon must have serious negotiations for expansion of this. Okay, now this one's weird. Dental, vision, and hearing. 3 different items. Most expensive, dental, by far. Cheapest, vision. Vision's very, very cheap. An eye exam and a new pair of glasses, $150 a year. Very, very cheap. Which one helps the most people? Vision. Because you have vision issues when you're in your 40s. You have visions when you start Medicare in your 60s. But hearing, you may not have a problem ever in your lifetime. Maybe when you're 70s, maybe your 80s. So they had told us, they had told Bernie, Nancy had said it, everyone had said it, that dental was very expensive. Bernie wanted it for 10 years. Then they brought it down to 3 years. Then they said, you know what? We'll do a voucher. A voucher, $800 a year. Not a lot. I didn't like it. It was not enough, but better than nothing. Suddenly, poof, gone. Dental went from 10 to 3 years to voucher to nothing. What? Who did that? No one knows who did that. Now, no one knows who put the hearing in there either. Why would you put hearing in there if it's the second most expensive provision when you could have put vision in there? And vision is so darn cheap. I may only be $100 billion. Why is something so cheap as vision not put in there? Not clear at all. And this is why these sort of situations need to be asked by broadcast media. As we go into another round of negotiations this next week, we need to know who's taking provisions out, when they're being taken out, and why when they expand something, it's in there and then suddenly it's out again. Sometimes we have clarity. In the case of paid leave, we have clarity because Joe Manchin is good in telling us when he has an opinion about something. And he said, I don't want paid leave, take it out. So we know the paid leave was the result of Joe Manchin. But that situation is still very fluid as well, because going into the weekend, Nancy said, I'm putting it back in there. So let's go over the paid leave. This one is unconceivable. It's illogical that it's not already law in this country. I can't imagine anyone opposing it. Paid leave. Your wife's giving birth to your son, your firstborn child, tomorrow. You want to stay off from work? Good. It's on your dollar, because in the American economy, you don't get paid leave. Any country around the globe, you can go watch your son being born, and the employer will be compensated by the federal government to give you paid leave. Here, we don't do it. It doesn't make any sense. That's paid family leave. Nothing in the country at the moment for paid family leave. Medical leave. You're a single dad and you have a young kid and he broke his leg at school. You have to stay home to take care of your son from work. Guess who pays for that? You do, not the employer. It's on your penny. Why? Because we don't have this. We're the only country in the modern era that doesn't have this. It's illogical. Pelosi proposed 12 weeks for everyone, including self-employed individuals and gig workers of all income levels, all wealth levels, for a decade, $500 billion. It shows you how broad that was, and it was still only $500 billion, which is not a lot. So she dropped it down to 4 weeks, low-income employees only. $100 billion. Whoa, that is cheap. $100 billion. That's nothing. For 4 weeks. Now, I would have done it for 3 weeks and include gig workers as well and self-employed individuals. But $100 billion, it came out because of Joe Manchin. Child tax credit. Here's where my notes do not match up with broadcast media. Broadcast media reporting that the CTC has now been expanded to be offered to people who make $150,000 or less per year. My notes show they were only trying to get it to $110,000. It's currently $60,000. I think $150,000 is a misprint by the broadcast media. If it isn't, it's illogical. Here's a little bit of an opinion. It doesn't make any sense. You make $150,000 a year, you're getting money for your $30,000 to take care of your kid. That's a lot of income you're making a year. You can afford this. I don't think that's really what the law, what the recon says. I think it's a misprint. Prescription medication out. Community college out. Pell's grant in there with the additional $550 and more money for the students as well. Childcare, great news, got in there, broadened the eligibility, and clean energy out. Health insurance, got it in there. I have a lot of viewers asking about health insurance. Yes, they got it in there. Cheaper health insurance, not many years, but they got it in there. Housing, great, because third stimulus was about $47 billion. You see how much viewers have gotten from third stimulus for housing. They've gotten $40,000. Well, they're going to do $175 billion compared to $47 billion. And then in-home healthcare, the money for the health provider if you're on disabilities or you're a senior. Pelosi representing, she wants to put the paid leave and family leave in there. Bernie supporting her as well because he had that in that comment. Gothenheimer, who is a House member, not a senator, saying he's adding the provision for SALT. SALT is the lifting the cap on the state and local tax deduction. Very big in states like New York and New Jersey, where he is in California. Very, very fluid situation, which you now see what's going on. So why did this happen? In the commentary coming up in just a second, I'll explain to you why were we shown a recon as though it was done on Thursday when it wasn't done. That's coming up in just a second. But let's turn to some student loan debt. More debt could be forgiven. The president forgave 3 rounds already and is now offered an additional round. What is this round? He's offering $10,000 for all student loan debt. Would not be the final one, just the current run. And the Democrats should take it. This would come after the president forgave student loan debts for people who became disabled after graduation. Then the president forgave student loan debts for people who went into the non-profit sector after graduation for 10 years. And then the president forgave student loan debts for people who became workers in the public sector 10 years after graduation. That is your city, your county, your state, your federal government, your Department of Mardi Gras. Now your debts are forgiven. And those bad beads you wear all the time. Colo raise, get ready for Colo raise because that is happening in just a few weeks. Next year, your benefits are going up. You already got that letter from Social Security. I think it's 5.9%, but get ready because FIST stimulus is right behind it. FIST stimulus will raise your benefits up if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and veterans benefits. And then it will apply a new benchmark next December, not this one, but the year after that. Inflation. You want it because inflation is going to be 1 to 3%. COLA will likely be 0 again. That will be 1, 2, 3 steps up in 1 year. They're going to remove the asset cap. They're going to remove the income cap, and they're going to remove the marriage penalty. And love is going to win, and you'll be able to do a pharaoh dance and no longer fear loss of benefits and do a pharaoh dance at your wedding. Viewers like Rob and Sandy will be able to get married and no longer fear the loss of the marriage penalty. Finally, if you haven't become a member, consider becoming a member today and get that newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time from me. Features all the big money under third stimulus. You want to get that money because it's still being paid out. There's new rounds of money. So if you got money before, like a Niecy or an Art Sullivan or a Caroline, get additional sums of money because there's new rounds of money. Rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, clothing, home repairs, also small appliances, the nonprofits as well. And with that, let me go into the final minutes of my commentary, which is a little bit of analysis and exclusive analysis you're hearing right now on Mornings LALATE, and it starts right this moment. Why did the president tell the American people on Thursday that a recon was done if it's not done? The reason why is the press conference, while it aired in the United States, was really not for you. It was for world leaders. Why? The president's overseas in Rome, now heading to Glasgow for a second conference, all about lowering emissions, global emissions due to carbon-producing cars and things like that over the next 10 years. Each country is making their own commitment. It has to be over 50%. These are countries that consume 80%, that generate 80% of the harmful things in the environment worldwide right now. Each country needs to make their commitment. Those countries going to those meetings are delivering law, bill. Biden delivering neither. He doesn't have a law. He doesn't have a bill. He has an agreement. What was he trying to do? He was trying to go into the meetings with those legislators, with those leaders of other countries, saying, "I have an agreement," and he got that. What was the focus of what he was trying to do? The focus was he wanted to go to Rome and say, "I have an agreement about this recon," and not have a U.S. broadcaster walk up to Joe Manchin on a Friday, a Saturday, or today or Sunday, and say, "Joe, do you support the recon?" "No, I don't." Well, wait a second. The president's in Rome saying he has this great thing for foreign countries, and Joe Manchin is saying no. You're seeing this for the first time on Mornings LALATE right now, that Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema gave the president a send-off and a promise. They would not say anything negative about the recon. They would make it look like they support the recon, and they would keep their mouth shut between now and when the president comes back, so that the president could, in a global stage, look like he has an agreement on the recon. You and I know there's a lot of stuff that is still needs to be worked on. So as soon as the president returns, the work on the president's side continues. But right now, we have some legislators who are perfectly fine saying there's things missing. It's going to pass, but the thing's missing. Huge things missing. Not small, huge. And this is why this happened. Great news for you. Why? Things are missing. Things need to be added. And things need to be broadened across the board. We're going to see what happens with Senate parliamentarian this next week. We're going to see what happens with the Federal Reserve Chair as he's going to testify on Capitol Hill about those inflation rates. Boy, it ain't temporary. It ain't transitory. But guess what? This is where you want the recon to go. It's not going to shrink. It's going to grow from here. They got it to a price point that happened. It's not going to get lower or smaller or things removed. It's going to grow. What I would hope next week is somewhere along the lines, some of the broadcast media, or maybe you get it, get these legislators to tell us why were provisions removed, who removed them, and when were they removed, because we don't understand this whole process of things disappearing. They may not understand it as well. But as Pramila said earlier in this video, her phone is ringing off the hook because people are still negotiating for that recon. And that's great news. Join me next on noontime at 11 a.m. Then we got the 1 o'clock afternoon show. We got the 3 o'clock afternoon show, which is huge, brand new. And then we got the big Evenings LALATE show tonight. Do not miss those shows. The news cycle is changing dramatically. Who would have known that on a weekend when the president's gone, when broadcast media outlets are overseas, there is so much happening for those legislators back here in the United States. I'll have all those details and more with you coming up next. But with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. If you missed any videos earlier today because you're at church or out or enjoying the holiday candy before the kids come, the videos are now on the channel. You can go watch them from early mornings LALATE, Countdown LALATE, and the overnight shows as well. Stay informed, stay focused, and I'll see you back at 11 a.m. in 2 hours from now on Noontime.